We are rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. Today it's just me and Daniel, and we haven't done an episode with just us in a while, so we're going to talk about a few topics and see where this goes. Also, if you've been enjoying the show, be sure to like and subscribe and keep up with us. We really appreciate your support, and I hope you're enjoying the show.
Definitely.
What's up, man?
Trying to wake up. Trying to get this caffeine in. I'm like, I was thinking 300 milligrams. I think I'm probably like 400 milligrams in for the day. So a little clutch action in Mooresville. Shout out Clutch. And then a rain about midway through, and then finishing off with some Starbucks.
Nice.
So I'm working on it. So I'm gonna wake up officially here in about like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, somewhere in the middle of this podcast, and I'm gonna be on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And I'll be trying to come down.
Right.
Have you guys done any kind of research on the effects of like caffeine? I should. I haven't, because I've been drinking it for my whole life and all that kind of stuff. But I wonder what that does to a body over time. I don't know.
I mean, I've used it a lot for fitness and stuff too, but
I think it blocks the some receptor in your brain that causes you to be tired or allows you to be tired.
Oh, okay.
It's part of what it does.
Interesting.
I'm not sure about how it functions exactly, but
That's true.
it's not completely bad for you.
Right. No, I didn't think
I mean,
so.
it can be in higher doses. I think
Right.
anything over 1,000 milligrams at once could kill you, but
Right. I mean, even water, if you drink too much of it, it'll murder you, you know.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost everything's deadly if you have too much of it. But I know that your tolerance builds up quickly to it, so that's why you become
caffeine.
so dependent on it.
Yeah, I go through periods. I haven't done this in a while where I'll switch, and if I have a light week, which we haven't had in a while, I'll run like half calf through the whole week, or
That's good.
You know, just to give my body a chance to reset. And if I did this once about a year ago, I went a week with half calf, and then I did a week with no caffeine. Like,
that's
so I
probably
did
good.
Just a decaf coffee, like you know, decaf technically still has something in it, but
10%.
you know, but that way I try to really back it off, and then it requires less caffeine moving forward to kind of get back.
Right, yeah.
I get more effect with less caffeine.
Yeah.
But
If you can skip days, that's probably the best way to do it, but I can't.
Man.
I'm too dependent on it.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I got a buddy out there in PA that seems to be having a lot of success with cocaine, but I told him I'd pass.
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Depends on how long you want to live.
That's true. Beautiful, Dan. I'm good, buddy. I'm good.
From all the stuff I've read about coffee, though, coffee is supposed to be really good for you. I mean, most of the research and the studies show that coffee makes you live longer.
Really?
So,
Good. I've been getting
yeah.
my fair share in.
Or makes you, I guess, less prone to heart disease and stuff like that.
Right.
That's good to know, because I've slayed some coffee in my lifetime, just at least a pot a day and every morning. Just
Yeah.
like clockwork.
I drink
I
a lot
went
of
to
coffee.
half decaf, half regular, which I feel better, less, what is it, acid reflux and that
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, you know, also, you only have, I think, roughly 1 billion heartbeats in your life. So, you know, if you're speeding up your heart rate, you know, you may be speeding up your clock out date too.
Right.
But if you exercise and you stay healthy and, you know, you do cardio and stuff like that, you should be able to reduce your resting heart rate. So it should offset it.
True. That's a good point.
And you know, maybe speeding up your heart rate actually makes it more efficient too when it slows back down. Who knows? Don't want to throw out any fake science there.
No.
No.
Mislead people. Drink all the caffeine you want.
Yeah. It's really good for you, make you live forever.
If you feel really dizzy and lightheaded, then you're right. You're in the right place.
Jess, I did have something interesting happen yesterday, or 2 days ago. It's 2 days ago?
Which you talking about the house thing, or?
Oh, no, that too. But I had something interesting happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got assassination attempt.
Oh.
Yeah. The tree guy that's trimming some trees for us decided to leave one of them up in the air. And it fell, perfect timing, and hit me right on the head as I was walking through the door. So that was interesting. That's probably why I'm still a little groggy today.
It was a reminder of the fragility of life.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
For real.
Right on the top of my head, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" But no, man. I definitely try to use caffeine as a tool. You know, right now I'm wishing it was a little bit more effective, but
Sure, yeah.
yep. But it's all good.
Well, it's, part of it's just age too, man. As you get older,
Yeah.
you have less energy. That's what I've learned. It's like I remember when I was 10 years younger, I just had energy all day.
Yeah.
I would even go to the gym and feel energized when I got there, and then when I left, I felt even better. And now when I go to the gym, now it's a struggle just to go to the gym, and then when I get there, I'm just like, oh, do I have to do this? But I do feel better when I leave.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. I'm really hoping that some good science comes out over the next decade that will restore some of that energy.
I hear you.
So,
well, I'll tell you what not to do, and I don't know how much I want to talk about this, but I'm going to. So the other day, stressful day. I was like, and we just been at it since like 5 a.m. I had went to bed at basically 3 a.m. the night before. Didn't have a lot of sleep. Long day, dealing with a lot of problems. I got off a call, like a 90-minute conference call, and I was like, literally just trying to get my head to just settle down. So I hit a vape pen 2 or 3 times. Wasn't paying attention. Turned into like half a dozen, maybe 10 times. Because you get to talk and you're just not paying attention, right? And I started feeling really good, feeling much better. I'm relaxed, and then it went too far. And I don't normally do that. I don't hit the pen until I'm just ready to go to bed. If I do it. And I was trying the damnest. I was like, all right. So I'm on the internet. I'm searching. This is how I found out about drink lemonade. Eat lemons. The terpenes in it. You had somebody had mentioned peppercorns, and then you had mentioned something anything acidic,
like citric stuff, or citrus.
So, I'm trying to so I'm like eating raw lemons, like trying to just do what I can, and it's just not moving fast enough. So I hydrated up, and I decided to go work out, and that wasn't awesome either.
Probably helped though.
It helped, but it was not
increase your
awesome.
metabolism a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely helped. By the end of it, I was definitely feeling better, and it took another hour after that to really feel normal. But I got a full workout in, and the beginning of it was brutal.
I think lemons are really bad for your teeth too, so it's not something you want to do a lot.
And I love
all
lemons.
that acid.
I love lemons.
Yeah. Acidic fruit.
Yep.
Looks like we're finally coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
Which the numbers look really good. I feel like the CDC's numbers look better than a lot of what we see on the media, but I was looking today, and North Carolina, I think the population of North Carolina is it's right around 10 million, maybe 10,300,000 or something, but we've distributed 9.4 million doses of the vaccine, and 6.8 million have received the first dose, and we're about 65% vaccinated. So
wow,
so that's good. Plus another 1 million people they've been naturally vaccinated.
Right.
So we should be in pretty good shape. I would imagine by June, July, things will be pretty normal.
Yeah.
Or they should be anyway. I mean, I know that there's some politics involved, but hopefully that's the case.
My brother's, because the National Guard basically was at full staff, or, they just didn't have enough people. And so he's a probation officer locally, and he's at the FEMA tent. So they're having to work. They're having to bring in people from all the jurisdictions surrounding, and they're not volunteering, but, because they're getting forced to do it, and they're getting paid to do it, obviously. But, each department's being encouraged to contribute. And so he's had to pull overnights 7 to 7. And then when you're not working, when it's the week that you're supposed to work the FEMA tent, you have to stay locally in a hotel, even if you live locally.
Oh.
And so it's an interesting thing, but I mean they're doing doses. That's what they're doing. They're working overnight protecting the vaccines.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but
out there.
I just wonder how much longer. I mean, you're almost going to be. Everybody's not going to get the vaccine anyway. But
I think from a scientific perspective, it would make sense just to have things to be pretty normal now, because my reasoning for that is that the most susceptible part of society, the people at the highest risk, have been vaccinated.
Right.
And now the risk to the rest of us is probably less than the flu, or exactly the same. And you have access to the vaccine. If you want to get vaccinated, you can get vaccinated now. Yep. And there's plenty of vaccine. So it doesn't, to me, it seems irrational at this point.
Right.
It seems like if you feel more comfortable wearing a mask and stuff, you should.
100%.
But if not, I don't think you should be forced to. And I think if you're a higher risk person, you should have already been vaccinated.
Yep.
and you certainly can, at will, and so I don't know. I feel like there's some politics involved with the whole thing, and I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm not. I just don't have time for it, and really, I feel like a lot of conspiracies are distractions from real issues.
Right.
Because there's enough corruption in government, you don't need to create
Yeah.
problems. But I don't trust politicians either. I know politicians like power, and government likes power. So I think we should be, more cautious, and we should pay more attention to just scientists and what they're saying, and also just look at the data. The CDC reports all the data. That's what I was looking at. Is this is from the CDC?
Yep.
And make your decisions based on factual information.
Yep.
Because if you look back through history, the worst things that have ever happened to humanity were caused by politicians. Because political offices attract.
Yeah.
They don't always attract the best people in our society.
I agree.
Or the people with the best intentions, and also people are easily corruptible too.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be through this mess soon. And
yeah. Without trying to go too far down the rabbit hole, I really like. So I've been personally a fan of the UFC as far as MMA or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai kickboxing, like boxing in general, just combat sports. We'll say I've been a fan of since I was probably like 13 years old.
Yeah, same here.
Maybe longer, but I really liked that the UFC is taking a non-political. They're basically saying, look, we're that's not what we are. Like, it's not our job to have political opinions. We don't tell our fighters what to think, how to think. We don't limit their speech. We're not in that business. We're not talking about it. We're not talking about COVID. We're not talking about politics. Like, we're in the fight business. That's what we talk about. And I like that a lot. And maybe that's controversial, but I'm so tired of every athletic team or every sports team or every whatever all of a sudden trying to be political and trying to be irregardless of which side the opinion is. I just, people don't tune into sports to listen to politics.
Well, that's big corporations trying to virtue signal.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
But they had their first full capacity fight in Florida recently, and then obviously I've got tickets to the Conor McGregor fight, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm going to be watching that live in July, and it's going to be at capacity in July. And so I believe in Vegas they went 100% capacity, basically back to normal, not normal.
Yeah,
but June 1st, and that fight's in I think the second week of July. So
who do you think's going to win?
Man,
is he fighting? Who is he fighting?
I'm going to tell you, I think that Conor's going to lose.
I mean, he's been losing, so
he's fighting.
But I like Conor. He's fun.
So here's what's going on. I think he's heavily distracted. Right, like I mean, he's making a ton of money.
Well, he's
gotten paid. I think he's getting paid from these fights. So there you go.
He's fighting Usman, right?
No.
He just lost to Usman, right?
Yep. And then you've got Dustin Poirier, or whatever you say his last name.
Poirier. Yeah.
Poirier.
Is that who he's fighting?
Yep.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yep. So I think it's their third match, but
that'll be a more balanced fight.
I think the problem is,
I think Poirier is hungrier though, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And Conor hurt his leg this last fight. If you looked, I mean, like the dude just treated his leg like it was a bag basically, and his leg was really swollen. I don't know. I just feel like
didn't Dustin Poirier just beat him a few months ago?
Yeah, they're 1-1, I believe.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
But I don't know. I look at that and I go, I think I'd like for him to win. He punched the old guy in the pub.
Yeah,
right?
He lost me for a while after that.
Yeah, that irritated me, and some of the stuff like
because I thought the other stuff was just kind of like a show.
Yeah,
but then when I saw him hit the old guy, I was like, oh, maybe that stuff's real.
I think the cocaine was treating him really, really, really good there for a while, and he started really wilding out. And like the event where he threw the hand truck, the dolly at the bus.
Yeah,
and
that was kind of earlier on.
That was earlier on, and then I think it just kept growing into things, and then he punches the older guy at the pub. And I'm like, and that got settled, by the way. He paid I'm sure, a large amount of money.
Right.
He bought the pub, by the way. This was in the news recently. He bought the pub, and then he banned the older guy that he punched in the face from the pub. That just happened this last week, actually.
Wow.
Well, that just negates everything he did.
Yeah. So
So go Dustin
He's
Poirier.
kind of an asshole.
He's an asshole. Like I was I was starting
Wow.
to feel better about him, and then and I still like him for some reason, and I'm like, well, why'd you do that? Like, how about buy the pub and then let the guy drink for free for a year or something?
Right?
You know,
Yeah,
like,
that'd be the way to deal with it.
that would have been
yeah.
the way, But
Yeah.
so who knows?
That's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, but I'm looking forward to the fight anyway, and I've never watched one in person.
Well, I like Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've seen, he seems like a really likable dude.
Yeah.
And a good guy. So
What do you guys think about mixing the combat sports? They fuck up when they do that shit. Like O'Connor, I mean, it was a good fight with him and
Floyd.
Floyd.
Yeah.
But I mean, Floyd's a professional prize fighter. He's going to win.
he's a professional boxer.
fight.
It's boxing.
Yeah.
Same thing with
He's one of the greatest boxers.
Did you guys remember the Brawl for All back in the day?
Oh yeah.
It's like you got wrestlers boxing. So many millions of dollars of careers got ruined in like a few weeks. And then the main guy, they had him go against like Butterbean.
Yep.
And Butterbean destroyed him. Butterbean said, I'm going to destroy him. I'm worried about this guy. And he did.
Man, there's definitely Jake Paul, Logan Paul, the Paul brothers, whatever. They're doing a lot of, part of me says good for them for being able to monetize it.
Yeah.
The other part of me, it's frustrating, I'm sure, for professional fighters that there's a lot of professional fighters that aren't getting paid very well, right?
Nothing.
They get nothing, and they've dedicated their life to it, and then you got one of the Paul brothers that's fighting people that are not fighters. They're not boxers. He's basically having amateur bouts, calling himself a professional fighter.
Street fights.
And he's making good for him on one sense, but he's making tens of millions plus.
Well, this last fight he did
He fought a retired MMA fighter, but not a boxer.
recently retired.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's. I was surprised that he won that though.
Yeah.
Honestly, because
I wish he'd fight a boxer.
he should fight. Yeah, absolutely.
But-
he should fight a
just so
boxer
you
that's in
know,
their prime.
Mayweather just agreed to fight in Miami.
Oh well, Mayweather would destroy him.
Mayweather, it's going to be an
Yeah.
exhibition, but I'll tell you. Let me look at it real quick. Let me see. But I've got it right here.
I like Mayweather and Pacquiao are fun to watch.
Yeah.
Both those
Yeah.
guys.
I got to find it. But yeah, Mayweather just agreed to fight one of the Paul brothers in Miami. So,
I would like to see a seasoned boxer that's the same age as Jake Paul.
right
Just go in there and just
destroy him.
just beat the shit out of him.
I kind of wish, selfishly, I kind of wish that the first time he stepped out and did this bullshit, that somebody had just wrecked him.
Yeah.
Because if he would have been like some YouTube guy just trying to do it and he got wrecked, I think it would have sent a clear signal to everybody else not to do it.
Yeah.
But instead, it has had the opposite effect.
Now that said, he's actually a pretty decent. He seems like a pretty decent fighter, and he's training hard.
Yeah.
So I think he could become a good boxer.
And that's why I said I hate to be jaded, because at the end of the day, he's a marketing genius. He's making money. Good for
Right?
him.
Yeah, he's doing well. So.
But I just wonder how many amateur fighters out there could probably take him.
Yeah.
Like,
Probably a lot of them. Yeah.
yeah. So who knows?
Maybe, I don't know. He may end up being really good at it.
There's a couple of boxers that are starting to call him out, obviously, because they want the payday now.
Yeah.
Now they're figuring it out. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this continues.
It's a weird business, right? I've known some guys who are really good fighters. They win all their stuff, but they can't get any traction, and
True.
they can't get against.
But
people.
like
it's a weird thing.
Yeah,
If he was fighting even like Conor McGregor, I think Conor McGregor would beat him
I think so.
because he's a good boxer. I just
Man.
don't think I don't think he's fought a good boxer. Like, what's the guy he just fought? The MMA guy. What is his name? If it were an MMA fight, that guy would have destroyed him.
I agree.
Because he's one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yep.
And God, I can't think of his name. Ben Askren.
Askren. Yep.
And I think that fight with Masvidal where he
Yeah.
did that flying knee and knocked him out in the first few seconds of the fight, I think that's what messed him up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, it seems like when some of these guys get knocked out really hard, they just never recover.
Yeah, so Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul officially set for Miami June 6th.
Oh, nice. That's soon.
Yep.
It's just over a month.
Well, that's going to make a lot of money.
At the
yeah.
Hard Rock
Yeah.
Stadium in Miami.
That's awesome.
And it's Showtime pay-per-view.
Oh, it's going
They're gonna
Very
kill
cool.
it.
Yeah.
It's going to do better probably than what they're usually used to.
Yeah.
Even back before COVID, for this first one anyway.
Right, yeah. No, it'll be fun.
Yep, I'm excited about it. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
I know it's an exhibition, but I hope he just lays them out.
Nah, it's not going to be that exhibitionist. exhibitionistic.
Maybe he should
say
fight Mike Tyson. I'd watch that one too. Logan Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Yeah, there's some level of disrespect there, though. Because he's older.
Oh, I know. But I just kind of would love it if Tyson just beat his ass.
Oh, it'd be awesome to see him
But
get
for
knocked
Logan
out.
Paul, it'd be great.
But
He could beat a former heavyweight champ.
Is it Logan or Jake?
I think it was. And Logan's fighting.
Logan's the older one, right?
Yeah, he's fighting Mayweather.
Oh, okay. So it's not Jake fighting Mayweather.
Yeah, Logan's the one fighting Mayweather.
Okay.
Yeah, Logan's fighting Mayweather.
He's more likable than Jake, too.
I think
though.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I would. It would be upsetting to see, if one of those guys fought Tyson and actually hurt him.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be shitty.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's neither one of those guys would have a chance against him in his prime.
In his prime, yeah.
Not even they wouldn't even be allowed to step in the ring with him.
Yeah.
So.
Did you guys ever watch UFC before it was cool? Meaning before.
Oh,
before
yeah,
people,
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
I remember-
Octagon stuff, the tapes and stuff. Me and Jason Ledford would sneak out of high school last period or whatever. Would wander down and play video games. Like Mortal Kombat just came out.
Oh yeah.
So we're playing that, and then we were like buying they had all the Octagon, all the UFC, and it was just like the one thing they do each year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then, and you watched, but I loved that shit, like Hoist Gracie. And
Yeah, I
all
was
the
going to say that's
Jiu-Jitsu
the Hoist
stuff.
Gracie days. Yeah, the
love
original
that
Hoist
stuff,
Gracie
yeah.
days. Yeah.
I remember in it was probably 93, me and my friend Eric, we rented one of the first UFC fights and watched, and it was disturbing the first time I saw it because it was you'd never seen people actually like just bare knuckle, just fight brawling with each other.
Yeah.
And it was brutal and it was shocking, especially as a 13-year-old. It's like,
I can't
how did
remember
people
the
could do
boxer's
this?
name. The boxer wanted to keep one glove on. So, you remember that? Does
I
anybody
do
else
remember
watch that?
that.
He
Yeah,
had
yeah.
one glove on. I don't know what his thought process was, but I was like, this is terrible.
I just remember all the long-haired karate guys getting destroyed,
Yeah,
just
getting
one
killed.
after another.
Yeah.
Just they ain't gonna see too much of that anymore.
It was awesome
Yeah.
watching the Gracies just demolish people with jiu-jitsu. That's the first time we learned about jiu-jitsu in this, where we're from. But,
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, oh wow, like this.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I'm.
And they would do the fights with no weight class. So
Yeah.
you'd have a guy that's like 150 against a guy that's like 250.
Yep.
And then sometimes the 150 guy would win.
Yeah.
It was just like the video games. That's why
Yes,
I liked
yeah,
it.
yeah, it was crazy.
So speaking of Mortal Kombat, I went to watch it last night, and I realized it's only on HBO
Yep, Max.
Yeah.
Max, and I was like,
You should have HBO Max, don't you?
I don't think I do.
You have Disney.
Is it through part of
Part
Disney?
of the same package, yeah.
Oh, then I'm sure I have.
ESPN, Disney, and HBO Max. Maybe
Well, then
something else.
I probably do.
We get ours separate, but you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I may not. I may or might not have it, but I was like, I'm just not. I'll give it a little bit. I'm not sure. Has anybody watched it?
I have.
heard it was good.
Actually, I watched the original.
No spoilers though. But
no,
yeah.
none at all. My impression is this first scene, fucking awesome. It's like cinematic. It's great. And then they turn it into Mortal Kombat for a while, which is fine. I'm not ragging it, but then it reminds you it's a video game movie for a little bit. But honestly, watching the movie, I was pleasantly happy with it. It was just entertaining. It's about as entertaining as Kong versus Zilla and stuff like that,
Okay.
which I like. Some people bag it, but I don't care. I had fun watching it.
There you go.
Yeah, I've
There
heard
you go.
good things about the Mortal Kombat movie.
I'm.
It's hard for me to find 2 hours to sit down and watch a movie.
Well,
like that.
I actually got home early last night. It was like 9:20 p.m. or 9:15 p.m. And so I got to see the kids for 15, 20 minutes before they went to bed. And then, I was just like, oh, what am I going to do now? And I was like, oh, maybe I'll watch the show, because I'm not usually home that early.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I had like an extra 2 or 3 hours. I was like, oh, I'll do something, watch a TV show.
That is unusual for you, for sure.
Yeah. And I didn't watch the show, so.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's good if you get a chance.
Yeah.
It's a popcorn movie. It's it's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I usually do most of my creative stuff at night, so I'm usually writing or working on some kind of an art project or something. But I do try to watch some movies because I love movies.
Yeah.
And, for acting and stuff, it's still good to watch other people perform and pay attention to the writing and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's part of it. I know you wanted to talk about interest rates and inflation and the housing or the real estate market.
Yeah, so there's this thing. I feel like a lot of people are talking about it. And and most places in the country, bar certain parts of California, bar certain parts of New York, bar certain parts of Phoenix. There are definitely pockets of places that are experiencing the opposite effect. But in most parts of the country, residential housing is booming, right?
Yeah.
And especially in certain price points. And
it's probably tanking in places like L.A. and New York, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. And so it's really interesting to see. And, everybody's got opinions. But just this year in some markets, they're seeing 15 to 24%. On the East Coast, they're seeing 15 to 24% price adjustments from January. And if you think about that, there was earlier this year. So I've been hearing different. Kevin O'Leary talked about this, and a couple others were talking about, what's going to happen. And there's some stuff that's being proposed right now by the Biden administration about getting rid of the 529 exchange. So essentially, the tax deferred exchange, essentially, so of like kind value exchange. So if I had $10 million in real estate and I sold it, I could take and replace the $10 million with different real estate. Just move my holdings. Think about a stock that you own $10 million in Walmart, and you don't sell the stock and cash it out and put the money in your bank. You sell the stock and then you exchange it for $10 million and say Dell. Yeah. That's an exchange of like kind value. So I'm just kind of reallocating how the $10 million is invested.
Right, or even a more simplified thing, just for people that don't know much about real estate. If you have a property that's worth $10 million, and you find another property that's worth $10 million, and you need to move this other property because it's already been depreciated over several years.
Yeah, or you just don't like it.
Or you just don't like the property. You like it a little better.
Yeah.
So you want to switch to this other property.
Yep.
And so you work it out with the real estate attorney who has a trust, and this attorney does the sale of this property for you. All the money goes in that trust, so you never touch the money.
Yep.
And then that attorney does the closing for the new property, and the money in that trust goes straight into that property. You never made any money. There's no profit made, so there's no tax liability.
Not at that point, right? So
at that point.
So what they're trying to do is they're trying to cap that at $500,000. Now, so here becomes, so there's a lot of things going on.
That doesn't make sense. It
doesn't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and so everybody's like, well, what do you think's going to happen in the real estate market? Well, there's a lot of factors right now that are artificially keeping prices high. One is there's no inventory, for one. Two, they can't build the houses fast enough.
The building materials have gone through the roof.
Part of it is the building materials are through the roof, and so the cost to build has skyrocketed. And then there are certain materials that you need to build that you can't get.
They're not available. Yeah.
So you can't fix the supply issue quickly. So for right now, we've got those. Well, then the other thing is you've got interest rates that are being kept at artificially low over an extended period of time, which just means if the interest rate is really low, it means you can afford more house, right? Either more house or more payment, right? You can afford to pay more for the same house.
Less payment, more house.
Right. So, you start looking at these things. You go, all these things are making real estate prices go through the roof, right? And then there's very limited inventory in most of these markets. So then you go, okay, well, what happens when, I think there's a correction coming at some point, but depending on what happens and what tax laws are passed is going to determine where the correction's at. But let's take this for instance. If you cap an exchange of like kind value at $500K, what you're basically going to do is take professional investors that would have properties in the $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, whatever dollar range, and you're going to turn them into competitors with first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Right? Because you take somebody that's used to buying $10 million properties to get the tax advantages, right, to be able to move their money around, and what ends up happening is now they're bidding on essentially homes in the $500,000 or properties in the $500,000 or less range, which means you've got more, instead of just first-time home buyers or a second-time home buyer that's buying the home for themselves,
or just
you've got competition, which is going to drive the price up even further.
Or just smaller investors that just buy single-family homes.
Yeah.
Glad I'm getting a house now and not in a few months.
Yeah. Well,
it could be better.
There could be a drop too.
Yeah. Well, so I think with all these things going on, I think in certain price points, I'm not sure that the next year and a half that there is going to be a drop in certain price points. And those,
right? Yeah.
I'd say, and that depending on the market, obviously, because $200,000 in Randolph County or in Ashburn, North Carolina, goes a lot less further as if you spent $200,000 in Raleigh or $200,000 in Charlotte,
right? Yeah,
or a suburb of those. So it just depends on what market you're at. But I think in certain price points, until they can solve inventory and until interest rates start climbing, until some of these things start happening, I think that you may see it top out. But one of the things I was telling you earlier that's really interesting. I've been watching properties like crazy on the Gulf Coast, and just this week, and I may be off by 3 to 5 properties, but just this week in the last, say, 4 days, I think I've gotten 49 notifications of price drops on the Gulf, right? The Gulf front properties, essentially. And so that's the first time this year that I've seen that, and they've all happened this week.
It's a strange time of year to have price drops in real estate, too.
Well, what I think's happened is, and these are all these are over $1 million, from say $1 million to $7 million.
Yeah.
But most just barely over $1 million, some in the $2 and $3 million range, and then very few in the $6 and $7 million range. But what's going on is the market was so strong and there was so much demand that people were just jumping out there with prices, and they were selling still. And so I think a lot of things that have been listed in the last 90 days, people have really jumped out there to try and, hey, I'm not really interested in selling my home, but if I can get this much for it, I would.
Oh, yeah.
And they're taking shots at it. And I think what you're starting to see is maybe, like when you see a stock hit the top, usually it feels like it hits a ceiling and it kind of shoots back down a little bit, and then it keeps popping up to the ceiling, right?
Right.
And I feel like that's what just happened, in at least for the Gulf Coast. I feel like a top has been established for those Gulf front properties.
Right.
And they've hit the ceiling and bounced back down. And now it's probably going to linger there for a little while, but maybe at some point that signals a correction. And I think when you look at real estate as a whole, I think a top-down approach really makes a lot of sense for signaling when things are going to adjust, because I think it starts there. It starts there, and then everything else kind of underneath it is kind of dictated by that. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And I guess, depending on what tax laws are passed and what goes through, it's going to make a difference. But, I think there's a 20% correction somewhere. But when does that happen? Does that happen, in a year and a half, or does it happen in 12 months?
Hopefully immediately when the problem is,
right?
Yes, this is a problem. Let's fix this.
So the problem is there.
Well, also,
right now,
it seems like it'll be mostly with commercial properties, too.
Oh, and now that's a whole different thing. Commercial is experiencing something completely different right now. Yeah, commercial is definitely. So this is also what's causing housing prices to go up, I believe, obviously. So I want you to think about this. You've got all these people that live, let's take like New York or even Charlotte. And you've got all these people that are densely packed into these cities that have been working from home for a year. A lot of these corporations have figured out that it's cheaper to allow their staff to work from home, at least part-time, or at least some of it. Some of them have gone to this thing where they only have to come in the office one day a week. Some of them not doing it at all.
You don't have to release these giant call centers anymore.
That's right. So, but now what's that doing to the housing prices? Well, people have been, because they've been stuck at home. Here's the other thing that's happened.
They want to buy a nicer house.
They want to buy nicer homes. People are trying to work. They're trying to have an extra office for office space. Like they're. So I think this has actually also contributed to the housing market booming, because you've got all these people now that are kind of leaving because they can. They're leaving these major metro areas, and they're going to a suburb of that area.
Right.
And so now we've got more buyers in a market that hasn't had time to build new houses. And so it's happened really quickly. Then, not even counting in all the people fleeing from, say, like California, New York, et cetera, to places like Texas, Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina. I mean, so you've also got a change in geography of where people are living.
Migrating to different areas.
Migrating to different areas. So the migration patterns are kind of causing something. So there's like all these things that are causing this housing market to boom.
Well, the thing about working at home, and we've talked about this before on the show, but I've a lot of tech people and people in the science community believe that that as vehicles become autonomous, that people will start moving out of these cities and dispersing more and moving to cheaper areas, because when your vehicle can drive you to work, it's basically an office.
Yep.
But now with COVID, a lot of these people won't even go to an office anymore. And it's funny, I was on a call this morning with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and the representative, when I was talking to the representative, I heard her dog bark. So she was at home.
She's at home, yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow.
One of our partners' wives is basically, she's with Zoom. And you look at Zoom, you look at companies like that are just booming and growing like crazy, growing by billions of dollars in valuation. And, it's becoming very, very, very commonplace. And I think it's opened up the eyes to it's going to operate differently. And so I think if that's the case, people are going to be in their homes. I think they're looking for more things. And then I think what COVID contributed to is if people are going to be stuck at home, right, they I think they're moving to areas where, like, there's a beach, where there's parks, where there's a lake, where, you know, so like you've got this other migration thing taking place. Like, okay, we can work from home and we're going to be at home. So, you know, outdoor sports have grown. Like, all these other things have picked up. So it's really interesting to see. And so you start to go, okay, well, when is the correction going to take place? And if you knew that for sure, if anybody knew that for sure, they'd get wildly rich. But it's like best guess at this point. I know there's something coming, because you've got every builder, every person out there, they're trying to build as fast as they can. So there's all this new inventory coming. There's going to be a raise in interest rates at some point. There's going to be something, and so what's going to happen though is everybody's going to blame it on some trigger. There's going to be some trigger event that's going to cause things to shift, and everybody's going to blame it on that one thing. That's what caused the correction in the housing market. But the reality is, there's so many things.
It's really complex.
And like everybody, here's the deal though. Everybody leaves the cities, but then the cities start emptying out. They wanted people to live back there and have incentives so that cities might become cheaper.
That's right.
So then you have younger people moving into the cities.
Yep.
You know, because I'm an older person now, but it's like
it's definitely going to be a cycle, because you know, they're going to want people to come back, and the price. But for that to happen, the pricing has to drop, right? You have to incentivize. Yeah. And I think that's what's going to happen. And so there's a couple-year cycle there where it could create opportunity. If you were somebody out there that wanted to invest in those cities, there might be an opportunity, but where is that opportunity at?
Right, yeah.
You know, if you're talking like places like New York, or places, anything downtown, usually when you get above tree line, right, your price goes up. There's a premium that you pay because you're not having obstructive views, right? So you might have a 10 or 15% price increase to get to that point. And usually the higher you go up, obviously, penthouse, you may have a 20, 25% increase on the price per square foot, just because it's an unobstructed view. Right. So you start thinking about those types of things, and you go, okay, well, if you can see the market drop in these markets, and you can pick something like that up, I think long term, when that market does come back, you've got a big play there. But can you make it in between, right?
The key is, if you want to make money, is figuring out the trends beforehand.
That's
and making
right.
the money off of it, because it's going to be going someplace anyway, right?
I'll tell you, for me, one of the rules I follow is your tenant will never be better than your neighborhood, right? So you can have the nicest house in the ghetto in the wrong neighborhood, right, or a neighborhood you don't want to be in, and your tenant will reflect the rest of the neighborhood. And that may not necessarily be a problem, but you can outbuy the right neighborhood. And sometimes I apply that to, let's say you live on the lake. Do you live in a cove? Do you live in the mud hole? Do you have proper boat access? What's your view? I think you buy the land. I think I'm less focused on what's on the land and more focused about the land itself. Right. You know, is it beachfront? What type of beach do you have? Can you walk out on the sand? You know, is it lakefront? What's your view? Is it main channel? You know, what's the traffic? Is it next to public docks, right? I would really be really, really, really methodical about what it is you're buying. Don't just buy something because you think it's a good deal. Would you have, if money was no object, would that be the property that you would want to own? Because if it's the right schools, the right view, the right neighborhood, the right stuff, when even in the bad economy, when it's a booming economy, that's going to be that much more valuable. Yeah. And so that's my thought process. Like, if you look at my house, I wanted main channel. Those things were more important than the house that actually sat on it.
One other thing I think that people see as well is, you know, larger cities, geographically, most of them aren't in the best areas, especially on the coastlines, because you have to deal with nature, and the location of those cities. It's likely temporary too, especially like in Florida, you know, like with Miami and stuff like that. But Miami will probably be underwater in 100 years.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It'll be a floating city.
Yeah.
Well, they'll probably just migrate inland. But I think, you know, also big cities are targets for terrorist attacks and stuff like that too. You have, you know, crime is higher in larger cities, so moving out of those cities is safer. And it's probably better for those individuals. It's probably also better for the environment too, because you know, you don't have these concentrated areas of you know, people and what's the word, like waste and
pollution.
And
I love New
yeah.
York City, but it's nasty.
Yeah,
No,
it's
I
a
You don't
gross
want to roll
place, yeah.
around on the ground there.
No,
Yeah.
man, it's
Yeah.
concrete jungle. I mean, like literally, you hear the concrete jungle, but you don't experience that till you go there. Like I remember the first grass I saw was at Central Park. Like I felt like for 2 days, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
it kind of like, and it smells. I don't know, especially like 3 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. You know, because all the trash is going out at night. It just
It's amazing to see a city like that, how it functions and
Yeah.
it works. It's so complex, but it's definitely better for people to be spread out more.
Yeah.
And I think humans only take up like 5% of the land mass.
yeah.
So there's plenty of room. There's plenty of space to spread people out.
You know, and Apple's coming to North Carolina. Saw that. You know, they're technically
yeah,
coming
that's
to
great.
Durham. They call it Raleigh, but basically, you know,
The triangle.
The triangle. So, you know, $1 billion campus. That'll be nice. And I
Yeah.
saw something about the average job for some type of position is going to be like $185,000 a year. For you know,
It's like 3,000 jobs they're adding to it. But
Yeah.
the thing is, that being there will probably add to other businesses.
oh yeah,
Oh,
100%.
for sure.
necessary for it to run around.
I'm glad
Yeah.
for it to come
Yeah.
to North Carolina, and it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. It's going to be. It makes more sense that it's there. I wish it would have been in Charlotte or a suburb of Charlotte, but that's
Yeah.
already the second fastest growing city in the country. So it's not. It didn't need it, but it would have been like the icing. You know, the icing on the cake. The
It may
cherry on
it may have
top.
taken away from Charlotte though. Charlotte's,
might have.
Charlotte's kind of an art town.
Yeah.
It's it's more creative and
But
laid
it's got
back.
the stadiums, and
Yeah.
it's who knows, but either way, it's
Yeah.
it's good for North Carolina anyway.
Which Raleigh is a tech city.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or the triangle is the research triangle, right?
yeah, it makes more sense. But yeah, it's nice to see that though.
Yeah, it's good for the state. Yeah, I think there'll be so many changes we can't even predict
Yep.
because of technology and the connectedness of people.
Yeah. Well, I was literally talking to somebody 2 nights ago, and I was like, "Could you imagine?" We were watching something, and it was a longhand written letter, and there was a delay. Like it took 3 weeks for it to arrive. Could you imagine? You know, having to when people used to have to communicate that way. Like right now, our productivity. I mean, and Neil, you and I, like, I feel bad if I don't respond, and at least with my 5 minute, like instant,
Right,
almost
yeah.
instantly. I check my phone. I'm responding to people. I'm responding to emails. I'm trying throughout the day. I'm responding to hundreds of items, right?
Yeah.
And then you go backwards and go, you know, even 20 or 30 years ago, it's night and day
Not
different.
even that long. Yeah.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
And so you wonder, like, our productivity level has just went through the roof, and that's what
Yeah.
technology is. That's an example of what technology is going to do.
Oh,
you know?
sure. Yeah.
So it's really interesting. But I was like, man, could you imagine? You know, Warren Buffett didn't have a cell phone until here recently. You know, I think he went like 80 years of his life without a cell phone. But it's funny, you know, to think about that. Like, how do you not have a cell phone?
Oh, it's impossible today.
Yeah.
You can't be in our generation and not have a cell phone. You
Yep.
just, unless you just have no ambition and you have nothing to do, or you did so well you don't have to do
Yeah.
anything, maybe.
Yeah.
Or you.
If I was that wealthy, though, and I had limited technology, I'd probably invest my money into whatever the latest technology is in that, whether it's a pony,
Right.
I own my own ponies to get my messages there or something like that.
There you go. Well, Warren's got this thing. It's interesting if you look at Berkshire Hathaway, but his investment philosophy historically has been that he only invests in things he knows, right?
Yeah.
That he understands, and I like that. Except
It can hurt you.
it can hurt you, and you know now he missed the bubble in the late '90s and early 2000s, obviously, which and he praised that, and that was part of where that came back around, where he said, you know, hey, I didn't understand technology, so I didn't invest in it. But I think at this point, he also, if you look at in 2007, 8, and 9. Several companies that were formed like Instagram and things like that became multi-billion-dollar corporations, he also missed out on because he blanketly said he didn't understand technology, so he didn't invest in it, right? So
Also, it doesn't matter for him either.
it doesn't at this point. It doesn't. But so for me, I'm like, and I'm not nowhere near that level.
Isn't he
but
the guy that invested in Coca-Cola, though, and
yeah, yeah, big time.
instantly made billions?
And big time. Yeah. Yeah, he's a huge Coke fanatic. Huge supporter of Coke. Which you know, I've had to switch to Pepsi recently. I don't drink Pepsi, but at our stores we've switched to
Oh, okay.
providing Pepsi. But But either way, but yeah, he's a big Coke fan. So
Okay.
he loves that stock. He's owned it forever.
Yeah, he increased the price point on everything by 1 cent or something. That immediately increased the revenue of the company by billions.
Billions of dollars. Literally, he had a one cent price increase, and it generated billions of dollars to the bottom line. So they did the math. Like literally, they went through and figured out that if they
sell over 1 billion products a day, though, don't they?
Yeah. So basically, so he's
ridiculous.
like, well, if you could raise by even 1 penny.
Yeah.
Basically, they showed based on the volume that they were doing that they could add these billions to the bottom line, and so literally they increased their position, made the price change, and made billions of dollars like literally overnight. So it's volume,
right? Yeah.
So we had some guys on the podcast a few weeks back, and they were talking about different things about if you raise minimum wage, you do this, you do that, and you have a bigger company, you can pass that rise in price across your inventory.
Yeah, you absorb it.
You can absorb it, right? And Coke's a good example of that. That company is so large and they do so much volume that even just 1 cent made this massive difference, billions of dollars of differences. But for us and our companies, if we raised any product that we had by 1 cent,
or our clients,
or anything, it would not change any.
Small businesses would suffer from that
suffer big
drastically.
time.
Yeah. And regardless if it's a small business or a large corporation, they're always going to pass that expense to the consumer.
100%.
Some of the bigger corporations may not pass all of it to the consumer, but they'll still pass the majority of the increase to the consumer. Yeah. And that's why if we want something like that, we have to do that collectively as a society.
Yep.
Not through that type of regulation, because it just hurts the businesses.
And I feel like the regulations too are too blankety.
I agree.
That's what I mean.
Regulations are necessary.
I agree.
But it's like, okay, you have these kind of businesses. Like McDonald's is not this mom and pop store.
No, I agree.
Right. Yeah,
I agree.
They can throw a penny on their hamburgers and be fine.
And you don't want large corporations to own everything.
No,
I agree.
No.
Yeah.
There should be more. You could have, like, even with smaller ones, more incentive for your work. Okay, you're only paid $7 an hour, but maybe you get a part of this one stock option, and you can split it with everybody or something.
Well, there's probably no stock option for a small company,
well, it might not be, but
But there could be a government subsidy for employees that work for smaller companies that have under a certain number of employees, or
I like it,
something like that.
I'm way open to that, but
it's still a problem with the currency, though.
Yeah. So it's really interesting though to watch some of these guys, and it's going to be an interesting time. I mean, we've got these crazy things like Jesse. You've locked in on a house, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully. You haven't closed on it yet.
Not yet.
But you got it under contract, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what's probably happened, and you'd have to look and see, but what's probably happened is while you've had it under contract, it's actually went up in value. That's how crazy it is right now.
We were so happy that the appraisal was over what we had done for, because and it was close, but still it was over. So we both, one intestine can kind of unclench for today.
We've got a team member that decided to sell his house and move in with another team member temporarily and look for an opportunity, and his house sold, like literally they listed it, and within like 4 hours they had like 83 offers, like just
wow.
Ridiculous.
It's so hard to get a house.
Right, it's ridiculous. And what that also means is, one, it's sold above the asking price, for one, but two, that means they listed it too low. And see, this is the thing. This is back to that thing earlier. There's no inventory, right? So something is worth what somebody else is willing to pay for it. And right now, because of no inventory, people are panicking. There's fear driving price too. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
But there's also fear driving price, and you got a lot of people that were in condos or apartments, that have been trapped for a year, and they wanted something a little bit bigger. That's the other thing that's taking place. Right. And then I don't know. It's just really weird. Yeah. I think one of the other things that's going on is there's been less evictions because landlords couldn't evict.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
It's caused a rental shortage too. So it's like a really weird time right now.
It is. Yeah.
So who knows?
I'm hoping that all these these housing sales won't. It seems like it's creating an artificial inflation too in the housing market.
No, it is. There's a bubble coming. I don't know what to call it a bubble. There's a correction coming at some point. So let me give you another thing though. What we were talking about.
Cryptocurrency.
Well, that, but what were we talking about? Hold on, we were just talking about
housing stuff still. Right?
Yeah, all housing stuff. What was I going to say? Oh. The government is trying to, here's one thing they're trying to do, which could ease, it'll be up to each individual state, but they're trying to allow, so you know how some subdivisions, like think about a place like Manhattan where you can build more house on less land.
Yeah.
Or there are communities, and in North Carolina specifically, like that they will only allow you to build and develop such a part. So let's say for every 1,000 square foot home you have to have 400 square foot of parking. So there's bills that are being proposed right now to limit the number so you can have more house on less land and require less parking.
Right.
So what that basically means is you take a subdivision where, you know, they say, hey, you got to have at least half an acre per each one of these houses, and maybe they go back in and say, actually, we'll allow you to build on the second part of this property, and you can build on with a quarter of an acre. So what they're trying to do is kind of deregulate some of these things to where it does not require so much land or so much parking. So that way, what actually could happen is some of these subdivisions that, you know, that are 100% capacity, maybe they have the ability to add, say, 20 or 30 homes to that subdivision, right?
Yeah.
That's something that's in the works.
Most of those subdivisions will fight against that, understandably, because it's going to reduce their property value too. Though it's like, even our subdivision, we live in. A developer came in and tried to
all the things we're talking about are gonna affect price. See, this is what we're talking about right now. We've got this hyperinflation going on. This prices are going through the roof, but there's all these other factors that I think that's where the correction comes.
Yeah,
because they're trying to solve the problem, right? Because you just can't have something going up at this rate for an extended, because there's no consistency, right?
Yeah.
People are building houses, and while they're building them, the prices are raising at such a point that, you know, literally it's costing, you know.
It seems like the cost of the materials will have to drop at some point.
It will.
Because it seems unreasonably high. Like it's so high, it's increased faster than people's wages have increased. 100%. So who can, if you build it, who can buy it?
Do you think that's something though that's just because of COVID and all the factories stopped producing material to do it? So we got to wait like probably half a year and then they'll be ramped up again.
Probably.
Which that contributes to the correction.
Maybe more than half a year, maybe another year or two.
Yeah, but that contributes to the correction because at what point it becomes cheaper to build than it does to buy. Right? Then what are people doing? Well, they stop buying existing homes, right? So all the things we're talking about are like this rabbit hole. That solves
the problem with being too condensed, too.
Yeah, but it solves the problem and signals another one. It signals the correction in the real estate market, right? So that's why it's like this crazy thing. And you know, fast forward a year and a half, 2 years, whenever it happens, at some point, and everyone's going to be shocked. They're all going to be shocked. I can't believe it, right? But everything, it's like that whole Newton's law, what must go up or what goes up must come down kind of deal. Like at some point, it doesn't crash, but there's definitely a correction, and I think that we should plan for that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting the disconnect between all these different things. If they were all connected better, and the communication was better, I think this could be controlled a lot more easily.
On a side note,
but it does self-correct. You know,
it will.
And also, we have no idea, you know, how the future will correct these issues too.
True.
You know, a lot of this, you know, a lot of the things we do, we'll probably look back and just think we were completely insane.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. True. But on a side note, if you're out there watching and you see me sweating, it's hot as fuck in here.
It is warm. Yeah.
Shout out to Joe, our HVAC guy. This is for you. I need you to come fix it. It's hot, bro. It's hot. I messaged him before we got in here and got started, but I'm over here sweating.
We've had the worst trouble with the HVAC in this studio.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. It was freezing all winter.
Yeah.
and now we have no AC. So.
Yes. We got a high production value studio here, and I'm over here sweating. Jesse, I see you glistening over there too. You a little warm?
I'm a little warm.
There you go.
It can't all work perfectly.
I had an old Chris Wiles joke that came to mind. I'm not going to say it's. I'm not sure if you're allowed to say it anymore. But 10 years,
using it, yeah.
10 years. Well, not even just that. It's a little offensive.
Oh, okay.
But 10 years ago it was acceptable. I don't know about today, but so either way. But I don't know.
Don't be slut shaming.
Right. No slut shaming. I love a good slut, man. They're good for the world, man. Good. What's that? It's good for the goose. It's good for the gander.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I think a slut is just like a janitor or a CEO. They are necessary, and I mean guy sluts and girl sluts. It's part of what makes the world go round.
I was watching that American Gigolo show with my wife, and I'm like, those guys are doing a service for the world.
I agree. So a buddy of mine got called. She's like, "Oh, I love your dad bod," to a buddy of mine, and he took it offensively. I was like, "Nah, man, that's a term of endearment." So I was talking to him, and now I'm on TikTok, and God, that's a rabbit hole. But anyway, I'm on TikTok, and I don't know how, because it's your phone's listening to you. And this video,
the Chinese government's listening to you.
the Chinese government's listening, and so they did this girl that she's like 3 reasons why I'm attracted to men with dad bods, and like I'm watching them like these all actually make sense. So I forward it to him, and he's like, I don't have a dad bod. I was like, man, it's a compliment. It's a compliment.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree, man. They're performing a vital service. Definitely, definitely.
What's up? You have something coming up, don't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to wrap up.
Yeah, I got blood work. Dr. Dan. Yeah, gonna see you soon. Yeah, every 6 weeks I get my my blood work done, and we'll see if my antibodies are still present.
Take care of your health.
Yeah, definitely. Trying to get in shape, and it's been 14 months now.
Yeah.
So I go and get my blood work every 6 weeks. Sometimes I'm running late, 7 or 8 weeks, and try to just stay on top of everything. And that way I can, if I need to make adjustments, I'm going to find out about something sooner rather than later.
That's good.
And ideally, as I get closer to my ideal weight and continue to move down the path towards being a healthy lifestyle, maybe I don't need to get blood work every 6 weeks. Maybe that does go to 8 or 12 weeks. But
yeah, twice a year maybe.
Just I'm going to slowly back down on it. But right now, some of the paranoia of just the world, Chicken Little, the sky's falling kind of deal. I just say, you know what? Let me just check for. He says, what do you want to check for? I want to check for everything.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean? I was like, any panel, common, uncommon. How my carbon dioxide levels? Like,
Have you got your genome report back yet?
No, I haven't. Okay. I was going to tell you earlier,
Should
like
be
you were telling me
soon.
about your genome, and I'm sitting there going, man, I still haven't gotten mine back. So I may need to reach out to them, but I'm really interested to see, the DNA sequencing, and because you were talking about, about taking naps. I'm curious.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information on there I'd like to know about.
Yeah, it said that with my, I have certain genes that, I guess contribute to poor sleep.
Right.
And it says that with my genetic makeup, I should be taking naps every day, which is not going to happen. But
yeah, I've got certain businesses that contribute to my poor sleep, and definitely business clients.
Business in general. Poor sleep.
Yeah, and and I've got a few friends that have dad bods that contribute to that as well.
Yeah.
As far as your time goes, do you guys have a set time where it's like, okay, I'm not taking any emails or phone calls after like 2 a.m. Between 2 a.m. and 4
I'm cursed, bro.
Yeah,
I'm cursed. You'll see me respond at 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Like literally, here's my thing.
If Daniel called me at 3 a.m., I'd answer the phone.
Yeah, he'd answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I physically hear it, if I notice it, I have a block.
Yeah.
I won't be able to go back to sleep till I deal with it.
Right.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
And that's just part of owning a business too, man, because the one time you'll learn the lesson, the one time you don't, something major happened, a medical emergency, somebody got robbed. I mean, like, because you're not getting a call at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because everything's okay.
Yeah.
Right? We had an employee at one of the clients that we consult for, a very large company. We had an employee had a heart attack at a location, and like stuff like that. I mean, like it just.
Yeah.
There's panic, there's fear. They don't know who to call. They start calling everybody.
Sure.
Right? Because they don't know what to do. So if my phone's, I'll get up. You had said before we started recording, you're like, I can't sleep tonight. You get up to go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
I get up to go to the bathroom. I have to check my phone.
Oh yeah.
And I'll respond to people I'm usually up at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning anyway, but I'll be responding to people at 4 a.m. and they think I'm up early. No, I haven't
sleep yet.
I haven't went to bed yet. Normally.
Yeah. Well, so, I don't check emails after I go to bed, but like if it's a phone call, it's probably important, and I'll answer it. And also, I also think about mental health because a friend may just be calling you at 3 or 4 in the morning because they're having an issue or something, and then you don't want to miss that call.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. No, I don't know. What I'm getting ready to work on is I was going to talk to you guys about this too. I usually don't commit to do anything before 11 a.m. There's 2 days a week that have exceptions to that. I think I'm going to move that time back to noon because what's going on is, a mentor of mine and a friend and somewhat probably a partner in some way. I was telling him I was making time for myself, and he said, "No, you're not." He's like, "What you're doing is you're robbing time from yourself. So you're taking time that you should be sleeping, or that you should be with your family, and you're doing these other activities." But he said, "You're not really taking time for yourself." And so he was right because on those weeks when I was taking time for myself, I was sleeping 2.5 hours a day, 3 hours a day, right? So I'm robbing from sleep to do
Killing
something
yourself.
else. Yeah,
Killing your
exactly.
brain.
It's the wrong way to do it. So, I've got something I've got to work on. But I think part of the fix for me is not to make commitments that I have to be able to be at first thing in the morning. And that way it allows me, because my lifestyle is a later lifestyle. We have clients on the West Coast, so if it's midnight there, it's 3 a.m. here,
Right.
4 a.m. here. So because of that, my lifestyle is just a later lifestyle. Sure. I'm just going to have to adjust the time I start.
For sure.
And everybody else is just going to have to fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, sometimes we have clients
in a positive way.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we have clients that are trying to develop new products or find better pricing, and I have to deal with people in China, which are on a completely opposite schedule of us. So I'll be up all night doing that.
Yeah,
for
actually, I was
weeks
gonna say.
sometimes.
I was gonna say any of the stuff that's overseas. I mean, you're literally, they don't get popping until 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
that's what's
anything out of Africa. Literally. I mean, they're waking up. It's 6:30, 7 a.m. They're 7 hours, 8 hours ahead of us. So when it's midnight here, it's 8 a.m. there basically. Right. So they're just getting started. So anything you're doing, we'll just say east. Of the United States, it starts to get real crazy. Yeah. And then, we've got clients that are west of North Carolina. They're towards California, so you have the same type
3
of
hours
issue.
behind us.
Yeah, they're behind us. So, we've just
24/7.
Yeah, it's basically
well,
the quietest time in all of our clients usually like 4 a.m. to like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time. Like I can. That's why I'm thinking. I've got that window.
You got a 6-hour window you could sleep right there.
Yeah, you've got 6 hours right there, and most businesses in America. I mean, Starbucks, things like that, the coffee shops, breakfast places, but a lot of other businesses, think like retail, they usually don't open until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Right, yeah.
People aren't beating down the doors first thing in the morning. So usually your problems are in the industries and the clients that we have.
Well, you could probably delegate more too.
I definitely could delegate more. We could do a whole episode on that. Whole episode on that. I was literally ordering basically office supplies, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I did it, but
That's funny.
I'll go clean the toilet too, but I just shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I got a blood work here in a couple minutes.
All right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed the episode. We've got some exciting projects coming up that we'll be excited to announce to you hopefully soon.
Definitely.
And if you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. I'm over here sweating.